Mafia soul, Mafia soul,
Yeah, this is the Gangster Movie Guru podcast. I am your host, Kwaku King Nabby. I am the Gangster Movie Guru. This is the podcast where I go in depth on a gangster movie classic from any era of film history. A classic where the protagonist, the hero of the film, is on the other side of the law. These are films that have influenced hip-hop culture, that I used to go back and forth with friends, about, that I used to quote in just average, daily, everyday life. These are movies that I love. Among other genres of movies, however, I just feel like talking about some gangster joints, so that's what we're going to get into. Just a little bit about me. I'm an independent filmmaker, film school educated filmmaker. So I have a grasp of not only the craft and the technical side of film, however, also the artistic side of film. Not only do I have hands-on experience as well as the taught knowledge and experience, however, I've just really watched a whole lot of movies, and I've watched a whole lot of gangster movies. And that's why I'm the Gangster Movie Guru, because I know what the hell I'm talking about. Much love to everyone listening. It's appreciated. Bless up, grab your spliff, grab your shot, grab whatever. Do what you do. Let's get into some gangster flicks. I appreciate all those who have liked, subscribed, who have viewed, who have commented, even if it was just on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, or, some kind of social media, and you haven't even visited the YouTube page yet. I still appreciate the love and I appreciate the support. And I just ask that you please come on over, like and subscribe. And if you haven't, and you fronting, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to find you. And when I find you, I'm going to grip you up by your collar with my face right up in your face. I'm going to stare at you for that long without saying nothing, push you off of me. And then you're going to go home and like and subscribe because you know what that means next. I don't want to talk about it. At any rate, the movie that we're going to get into today, that we're going to go in depth on, it's a classic. It's a benchmark film. A film that broke the rules in a lot of ways. A film that took what some may call a generic crime drama plot line as far as it being a heist film. It's very genre in a sense. However, it took the genre of heist films and flipped it on its head. And then also made it a in-depth analysis of character and of people and of human beings within that film, within that action, and within the drama. It did it so beautifully that it was not only an instant classic, however, it's a movie that still resonates to this day. Still shown on television. It's people that watch the movie weekly, have it on DVD, Blu-ray, download it, whatever. If you haven't seen the movie yet, please stop, pause this, go watch the movie, then come back because I'm spoiling everything about it. The movie that I speak of is none other than the 1996 instant classic, cult classic, legendary benchmark film in the history of motion picture. It's a film directed by F. Gary Gray, starring Jada Pinkett, Queen Latifah, Vivica Fox, Kimberly and Elise, and John C. McGinley. This movie has set it off. Let's get to the trailer. You already know what it is. I don't got to tell you why I'm doing the film. I already told you. Let's get to the trailer. This is a Gangster Movie Guru podcast. Roll tape.
Before they started laying people off, they was paying folks $15 an hour at that place.
That's good money.
$15 an hour, I'll be old. What I gotta do, sir?
I wish we could just get out of here.
Hey, Darnell, I didn't know you had an account here.
We're gonna have to let you go. The fact that you knew the perpetrator doesn't sit well with us.
Do you know Lorenz and them got away with 20 grand? That's what we need to do. Rob a bank. That's stupid.
Ain't nobody over here gonna be robbing no bank.
We gonna end up dead anyways. Maybe that's the way to go. Firing off a nod.
You're just taking away from the system that's doing us all anyway. Well, what if something goes wrong? What if somebody gets hurt? Let's do it.
All right, check it out. Y'all can roll with that right there.
Well, we ain't robbing stagecoaches. I need something I can set it off with.
I ain't feeling this, Frankie. This ain't right.
Okay.
They seem to know the inner workings of each bank. Their MO is in and out.
Please do not be misled by the fact that these four bandits are female.
$12,000 in 90 seconds. We said once to get us enough change to get us up out of here.
You ain't getting far on $3 grand.
Don't make me get ugly up in here, ladies and gentlemen.
All these women run together. Getting in way over their heads, aren't they?
Let's go!
Stoney! No more killing!
It's armed robbery and it's murder. Come on, Aggie! Is it ours? Yes!
So yeah, Set It Off was released by New Line Cinema in 1996. A New Line executive by the name of Helena Eshigoyen was looking to produce a movie or to bring a movie to New Line that starred female bank robbers. She brought that concept to Takashi Buford, who she had worked with before. He was a writer. He's worked on Booty Call and House Party 3, which she also worked on. Helena Eshigoyen at the time was responsible or was at least partly responsible for bringing Friday to New Line so that movie could be released. She goes to Takashi Buford. He provides her with a 40-page original screenplay about 4 female bank robbers. He's inspired by people that he actually meets or sees and observes in real life. This screenplay was then taken and Kate Lanier wrote a new screenplay around that. She brought the characters to life. She created a backstory to the female. She basically touched up and rounded out the screenplay to make it what we know of or what we know it is today. You know, and the rest, of course, is history. So they brought this film to F. Gary Gray. At this point, F. Gary Gray had done well with Friday. Friday being one of my favorite movies of all time, of course, a lot of people's favorites. I can still remember to this day when I saw that movie in theaters. But he was responsible for directing Friday. New Line was interested in investing in his talent and showcasing it some more. So they gave him the screenplay for Set It Off. At which point he was gung-ho to do the film because he realized that this was something, you know, in heist films in Hollywood, all that we've seen are, you know, are male characters, you know, robbing banks and doing things of that nature. These were 4 women who had deep character stories and deep character arcs and things, you know, of that nature. It wasn't just your average action film, but then on top of it, the action was intense as well. So he was like, yeah, I got to do this film. I got to do this movie. It's breaking all the rules. It's not a typical Hollywood film. So New Line released this film, very low budget. They say somewhere around $9 million, which obviously is a very low budget. And surprisingly, this film is extremely high quality. The action sequences are carried out with A1 professionalism. And that's, once again, and attests to the talents and the abilities of F. Gary Gray as a director. So F. Gary Gray directs this film. Now, this film, Set It Off, is a film that, of course, it came out in 96. I had first seen it years ago, the year that it came out. And back then, or maybe a year after it came out, don't remember exactly, but back then, I mean, it was a movie that everybody was talking about. You know what I mean? Just the talent involved in the film and then the themes of the film. It was a hit, you know, it was a classic off top right when it came out. And it's a film that I remembered, of course, as a classic. And I've seen pieces of here and there on TV. I've seen it, you know, from start to finish a couple times since then. But I haven't seen it from start to finish in a few years. So I almost forgot that aside from the action, F. Gary Gray does a remarkable job of getting a performance out of the characters and visually displaying the story and the tone of the story in a way that just connects you to the characters so deeply that this is actually really a gripping film. Like, it's an emotionally gripping film. When he takes those characters away from you, feel it. This joint almost had me crying all over again. I don't remember, because back then, you know what I'm saying, but now I'm a little bit older, you know what I mean? I'm in touch with my manhood. I could get a little emotional sometimes if I feel like it, goddammit. So this film just about brought me to tears again. We'll get into that later. But it's just it's a well-rounded film, and it really goes into what happens. Well, not only, of course, you know, what happens when the American dream or the hope for the American dream is kind of stripped away from a people. You know, they're living in poverty and everything seems to be going wrong. Their back is against the wall and what they'll do. But also, it goes to show the perils of desperation. Like, the things that you'll do when you're desperate and how things usually don't work when you act out of desperation. And that's kind of what happened in this film. It's like, from Jump Street, there's that idea boiling of, you know, I wish I could do something to get some fast money, but nobody is really at that level to where they'll really take it seriously. At least 3 out of the 4 aren't to that level. And then gradually, you know, or at least 2 out of 4 aren't. And then gradually it gets to the point where all 4 of them are pushed to their edge and they are just like, fuck it, I have nothing to lose, I'm going to do this. Or I'm about to lose everything anyway, so I need to do this. This is my only hope of coming up and hopefully getting away safely. So F. Gary Gray does a great job of telling that story and conjuring an emotional connection and emotional reaction out of the viewer, at least out of me, and I know many others, you know, feel the same way. So what I'll do, of course, we have the gangster moment of the film. I'm not going to mention that now. I'm going to go through the film. We'll talk about the film, about the great moments in the movie, and then at some point you'll hear me, you know, say that, okay, now this is the gangster moment in the film. So y'all just keep watching. In the comments, you know, put down what you feel your gangster moment is. If you want to, I'm going to start announcing these films ahead of time. And when I do, you know, you can leave your gangster moment of the film in the comments on YouTube or on Instagram at King Nabby, or, you know, Twitter at KKingNabby. And I'll put all that type of stuff up. You can find it down below in the caption. However, yeah, let's get into this movie. Let's talk about this. It's an excellent film. As we go through it, I'll also touch on, of course, the cast and the people involved in the film. Now, of course, in story, as I've said before, all story originates from the stories that were told and that were shown on those ancient walls of Kush, the ancient walls of Kemet. And they basically, from back, we get the archetypes, we get the hero's journey, the journey of Heru, or the hero from way back then. And these different archetypes that we see in, you know, in Osiris and Set and Isis and Tahuti and all these other people that are involved in the story, we get those same kind of archetypes throughout history, and it brings us to the stories that we tell now on screen and film that are basically our modern day mythologies that are used for entertainment, however, still have a deep emotional and psychological effect on us and possibly how our outlook on life. In this movie, and then of course all the movies I speak of, that hero that goes through that hero's journey is the gangster. So it's the gangster's journey. Now, it's the gangster's grind, if you will. Now, the main protagonist of this gangster's grind, there's 4 people, okay? There's Jada Pinkett, who plays Stoney. There's Cleo, who's played by Queen Latifah. There's Frankie, who's played by Vivica Fox. And there's Tashawn, a.k.a. TT, who's played by Kimberly Elise. These are your 4 protagonists in the film. However, at the end of the day, there's only one. There's only one Neo, baby. And the Neo of this film is Jada Pinkett, Stoney. The reason why Jada Pinkett is the main protagonist of this film is because the main story arc travels through her. She's the one who has we're shown her struggle and what she tries to do to come out of it to get the money. Why we get more reasons or a deeper reason behind why she may want to rob these banks and be motivated. She's kind of the balance of the group. Yes, she is hard. However, she's the voice of reason in a lot of situations. She also, the love story runs through her. She's the only one who has a real active love story. We know about Cleo and her girlfriend Ursula, but Ursula doesn't even speak. So you already, you know what I'm saying? We see the active love story through Jada Pinkett's character, through Stoney. We end the movie with her as well. Although we start the movie with Vivica Fox, that's more just to showcase the inciting incident, which happens to showcase her. However, the actual start of the film, when we get into it, is at that house party, which is for Stoney's brother, Stevie. So, as I just said, the inciting incident of Act 1 is from Jump Street, right when we enter the film. It's the bank robbery. Vivica Fox is a teller. She has a cushy job at the bank. Dub C, somebody from the rap group West Side Connection, of course, the legendary rap group. You know, they had their moment, and of course made up a legend. Dub C, Mac 10, Ice Cube. At any rate, Dub C, you know, is in the teller's line. She kind of can see that, okay, something's wrong. I know what he's about. Why is he in this bank right now? Something's wrong. And then I see the other guy, Lorenz, who's played by Samuel Monroe Jr. And Samuel Monroe Jr. is an actor who most would know. He's most well known or remembered for his role as Alina's cousin in Menace to Society. And I've seen Menace to Society like 1,000 times, so that's automatically, I'm like, oh shit, that's Alina's cousin. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what I thought when I saw it set off. I was like, oh, that's Alina's cousin. And he always kind of plays that same type of role. You know what I'm saying? So, at any rate, yeah, Dub C is up to no good. He robs the bank. He grabs a lady, you know, shoots her right in front of Vivica Fox's face. I mean, it's just an entire traumatizing situation that happens to Vivica Fox that turns her from a nice girl to what we'll see later. So, this is the inciting incident. This is the incident that propels everybody and ends up like a domino effect, just propelling each character into motion and why we are even in this movie telling this story. So right after the robbery, we're introduced to John C. McGinley, character, who he's basically the asshole detective, where at first he's more of an asshole detective. He's interrogating Vivica, screaming on her. He just knows that she's involved. She gets fired by her boss, you know what I'm saying, at the bank. And really at this point, it's excellent acting by Vivica Fox, because you really get the concept or the idea that many have felt, you know, to where, what are you taught when you're young and when you're growing up? You're taught this by older people who have lived life, and your mother, your father, your uncles, your aunts, your teachers, people that you trust. They're telling you, oh, you know, work hard at this job, you know, do what you're told, do all of these things and do them consistently, and you'll move up the ladder, you'll make more money, you'll be able to live the American dream. And up to that point, it was working for her. She had just gotten a promotion at the bank. You know what I'm saying? She was feeling great. Life was in a great situation. Dub C steps into the bank and just straight, destroys her whole world. And then when she's fired, she realizes that everything that she's been taught is a lie, because regardless of her being loyal to that institution, as she said, I just counted, $280,000 for you in a day or whatever she says. I mean, just for the hard work, the hard work that she's put in and everything has gone down the drain just off the fact of where she's from, and that that the bank robbers happen to be somebody that's from her neighborhood, her apartment complex, which is more than a building. You know what I'm saying? It's not like this is her brother or cousin or anything. It's just a guy from her neighborhood, which isn't the nicest neighborhood, and she's fired because of that. And she just realizes, okay, maybe the American dream isn't for me, or at least that's where her mentality, starts to go to, and now she's starting to get on that revenge time. So that happens. We go to the opening credits. We have the house party where we see Stevie, who's Jada Pinkett, who's Stoney's younger brother. He's played by Chaz Lamar Shepard. Now, Chaz Lamar Shepard is, of course, known for, he's been into a lot of different TV shows, and he's done some nice character acting here and there. He plays Stevie. They're having a party for Stevie graduating from high school. They're assuming that Stevie's going to UCLA. Unfortunately, he tells her, he tells his sister, like, I didn't get the scholarship. So now I may not be able to go to school. I'll pick up a job, whatever. At any rate, you see that Stoney now, this is leading up to Stoney's reason for why she needs money. So we're setting up each character's motivation one at a time. And of course, we're introduced to Queen Latifah and Kimberly Elise's characters, who are Cleo and Tashawn respectively. And both of them are obviously close friends, with Stoney. So we get the picture that these three are friends who have been together for a long time. We go from there to the workplace to see, our protagonist once again in the other side of her world, which is working for this janitorial business for this guy named Luther, who's a straight asshole. He's a boss. He's disrespectful. We get to see that Tashawn, or TT, now she's more on the timid side. Queen Latifah's character is rough, rugged, and raw, and Jada Pinkett's character is not a punk at all. So we start to see who we're dealing with and the archetypes that we're dealing with as far as our main characters. From the workplace, we go to, now the police are reviewing the robbery footage. They see the AP in the back of his head, and we get that, that little bit of comedy relief. Asshole, perhaps, that scene with John C. McGinley, who's a great actor. John C. McGinley, just for to give you a little bit of a background on him, if I have to. I mean, he's just a great character actor. He's done some television. He was recently in the Belko Experiment and did great in that film. He was one of the Bobs in Office Space. I loved his scenes in that. He's been in a great amount of films, especially in the 90s. He's in a lot of classic films that were produced in that decade. So we go from that, and it brilliantly fades into from the AP in the back of his head into the Acorn Development wooden sign at the front of the apartments, which gives us a hint that, okay, that A may be for Acorn. The editor on this film was John Carter, who's done who's edited a hell of a lot of classic films. Look him up. Google him or IMDb him. I'd say IMDb him because, John Carter and Google, you're going to find some other shit too. So he does a great job as the editor on this film. And now we come to the four ladies who are hanging out in the Acorn Projects. F. Gary Gray makes his little cameo when he comes through in the hoopty. That's him. That's the director. When he's telling, Cleo that she needs to get her money up. And we are really introduced to Cleo, who is played by Queen Latifah. Now, at this time, Queen Latifah, Queen, I love you. She was, I just had to say that because at this point, she was known for her music and known for living single. I knew her, you know, of course, first for her music. U-N-I-T-Y, U-N-I-T-Y, that's Unity. Everybody knows that joint. Classic. She made classic joints back in the day. Straight out of Jersey, of course. So you had her known for the music, and she played Khadijah on Living Single, and Living Single is a classic sitcom from the 90s. So she was doing well by herself. However, she hadn't really broken through on the major motion picture level. And with this role, yeah, she damn sure did. She played the shit out of Cleo. It's an iconic role. Everybody knows about Cleo. Even if you haven't seen the movie, you still know that character of Cleo from Set It Off. Iconic character. And of course, it opened the door for her to, win Oscars and be an award-winning actress and a serious actress and superstar in this business. And of course, even led her, I'm sure this was part of the inspiration that took her and her partner Shaq Kim to create their own production company, Flavor Unit Entertainment, which has put out a number of great films as well as TV shows. They've done a number of great independent films and a number of TV shows. So big ups to Flavor Unit, definitely. So at any rate, Cleo, we see that she's kind of wild out chick. She automatically suggests robbing the bank. She has her girlfriend Ursula show up, and Ursula says nothing, but just looks good with the little short blonde hair, looks sexy as shit. But we see that Cleo is a lesbian, and she's a dom on top of that, which was taboo in that era in the 90s. So it is something that we hadn't really seen before. We hadn't explored lesbians in the black community, especially at that time. So this was a benchmark film just on that level. Of course, nowadays it would be nothing, but at that time, and for Queen Latifah to play that role, when we know, Queen Latifah's image at that time was more so like she was that Afrocentric black queen, and that's not associated with roughneck lesbian dom at that point in time. Although, to me, a black queen is a black queen and comes in many shapes, sizes, ideologies, and all that. That's not for this video, though. You know what I'm saying? We can talk about that later. So, at any rate, she's like, yeah, we should rob the bank. Boom, boom. You see that she's a wild out chick. They basically all laugh it off. Frankie kind of shows, she's like, nah, we should just blow it up. You know what I'm saying? She wants revenge. So she's showing the inkling of that, okay, she's down for it and she knows about the bank. So she's going to be the mastermind. Cleo is always down for whatever. So she's that shooter. You know what I'm saying? She's down for whatever. So this is where the movie takes just a turn that into something that is really hard to watch and hard to think of as a reality. However, it is a reality for a lot of people and for a lot of women who feel that their back's against the wall and they have to do whatever they can to make a situation better. So Nate Andrews shows up. He's, a guy, from the hood, from around the way, an older gentleman who's a business owner. He owns his own car dealership. He makes a lot of money. He's played by Charles Robinson, who's another great television actor, and he's done, some work as well in film, as a character actor. So he walks up, talks to Stoney, tells her that he could hire her for a job, and then Stoney says the fateful words of, in order for me to start, I'm going to need an advance first. And you already see that she already knows that that Nate is attracted to her, that Mr. Nate Andrews is attracted to her, and that he wants to, he wants to get with her. She already knows that from when she sees him walking up. This has obviously been spoken about between her and her girls, between the four of them before. So by her saying that she needs an advance, she's already got to have in the back of her mind that, okay, this man may try and ask for something else from me. And of course he does. He's like, okay, if you want an advance, you got to help me out. And this is the first little thing that I guess is almost like a precursor for the rest of the film, for the grand scheme of things, or for the overall story of that. For when you chase money out of desperation, it typically doesn't work out. And there's signs that there's a better way. However, you have to decide if you're going to be patient enough to take the better way, or if you're going to try and do it. And it's not even really about patience, because at this point, I take that back, because at this point, it's not really about how long it's going to take. It's just that she just doesn't see any other way. She knows she can't earn enough money. She sees the opportunity here. She's like, fuck it, I got to do this for my brother. So she has sex with Mr. Andrews. He gives her the check. She feels mad dirty, starts scrubbing herself. She's in the shower scrubbing herself, washing herself off. And we see the mood of Stoney go down. Frankie starts working with them for Luther. She sucks at her job. All this shit is happening. Things are kind of going downhill throughout, their journey. And they end up having the meeting of the minds as they get high on the roof of a house. So they talk about, $15 an hour job and all that, and Cleo's like, yeah, I'd be on some yes sir shit if I had that job. By the way, I did the math, $15 an hour then is a little bit less than $25, more kind of like $23 to $25 an hour now in 2017. So you get a perspective on the type of money that they were talking about. So it's a decent job. If you're in that position, in the position that they're in, of course, that's a come up. And that's how they feel, about it. And then, now this is when Frankie's like, fuck all that. Let's rob this bank. They go through it again. Now Jada kind of, again, is the one that's like, nah, that's not what we do. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that. So they laugh it off again. And this scene, of course, once again, is an iconic picture of the four of them getting high on the roof. Everybody knows this when you think of Set It Off. That's one of the pictures that you think of in your head. And it just shows the camaraderie of the four women. You really get it's a great job of acting by all four of these ladies, because they really have a chemistry together to where you really think that they're friends and they've been friends for years. The great thing about this film, and part of what makes this film a classic, not only, and as far as entertainment and artistically, but also just as far as the craft of filmmaking, is they do such a great job of showing you how deep the relationship is between these women without telling you. There's not a lot of expositional moments in the story where somebody's just talking like, oh yeah, and I've known you for 20 years. We have that moment, sort of, and I'll get to that moment later with Cleo and with Stoney, but that was like an emotional moment to where it was that it was right on time. It was right on point the way that it happened. It happened in a realistic fashion. It didn't happen in a fashion like, let me tell you how close these people are and how they've been close for 20 years and they've gone through X, Y, Z together. We can see it just by the actors' performances, and big up for that. That's one of those little things that are huge things, actually, in making a film. A lot of people may not, but that's one of the huge things of making an entertaining film, is showing exposition and not telling it. At any rate, so this is now where everything starts to go pretty much downhill. Stevie ends up admitting when, Stoney brings him the check, shows him the check, like, yeah, your sister got you. Stevie's like, yo, I didn't really get accepted into UCLA. I didn't get accepted in the college. Maybe college isn't for me. Stoney is heartbroken. She smacks the shit out of Stevie. Stevie kind of understands why she's mad, but he doesn't really know why she's really super mad. She's hot because she gave up her body in order to get the money that she thought was going to help her brother be able to go to the school of his choice, to UCLA. And the whole time, he didn't even want to go to school. So her whole head is fucked up. So at any rate, Stevie leaves. He goes to, Lorenz's spot. Lorenz gives him the champagne as a congratulations for graduating and for going to, college, or embarking on going to college. He doesn't know, of course, what Stevie did. At any rate, they have a little funny conversation, and he says that, Stevie's admiring the AP in the back of Lorenz's head. Lorenz is like, yo, he tells the girl to put it in the back of Stevie's head, even though Stevie isn't from the projects. Of course, he would walk outside. The cops were surveilling the spot the whole time. All they see is the AP in the back of his head. They tell him to get on the ground. They think it's him. They think he's the bank robbing dude because the AP in the back of his head. When he, for some unknown reason, goes to pull the champagne bottle out of his jacket, he gets shot up and killed. Now, this is where, F. Gary Gray kind of and the writer out with the storytelling, they spin this so that now you kind of feel empathetic towards John C. McGinley, sort of, or they try and kind of make it so you don't know exactly who to root for, because John C. McGinley now has a heart. Okay, he's not just a cop who just wants to, kill off innocent people and all this. He's actually heartbroken when he realizes that it's not who they thought it was that was killed. Even though he didn't pull the trigger, he wasn't the one that pulled the trigger. He still feels like he's responsible for his death, and you see that clearly in the great performance by John C. McGinley. So this starts off that arc of him being, a cop that just wants to do his job and get the bad guy, but he wants justice served, and he feels for the people that he's dealing with. He doesn't just want to arrest anybody. He wants to arrest the guys that he feels are bad. And the good, innocent people, he feels like they're innocent people even in those impoverished situations, even though he was wrong about Vivica. Excuse me. So, Jada, of course, comes to the scene, finds out that her brother Stevie is killed. She's like, fuck the cops. She's like, fuck you, John C. McGinley, you detective. His partner, of course, played by Ella Joyce. Ella Joyce is a great character actress, great TV actress. I know her best from the television show The Rock. She played Rock's wife. So she's John C. McGinley's partner in this film. And then we have this scene that is only in the director's cut. It wasn't in the theatrical version, where Jada has an emotion where they go to Stoney's house, and she has this emotional moment where it's just sad. She finds her brother's hair in the razor, and I'm just going to show it to you so you can see this performance of Jada Pinkett and just understand at the time when she started this film, all that she had done was she had done A Different World, and she was Ronnie in Menace to Society. Ronnie was, basically Kane's love interest in Menace to Society. And so we know that she has spunk, and from the character in A Different World, we know that she has spunk, but we don't know the real range of her acting emotionally and everything. And this shows it. Roll tape.
I saw Stevie's hair in the bathroom. I can't go back in there. I don't want to go back in the bathroom no more. I saw his hair in the razor. Oh my.
So yeah, this brings us to the Act 1 climax, to the turning point in Act 1, where they really start to jump into the action. And this is where Frankie starts planning and is able to even convince Tashawn, who is the least compliant. She finally agrees to rob the bank. So we delve into Act 2. It starts off basically with Stoney and Tashawn casing a bank in LA. While they're casing this bank in downtown LA, Stoney finally meets Keith. And Keith, played by Blair Underwood, he's a big TV actor at this time, and he's a character actor. He typically plays that, pretty boy, strapping, tall love interest in films. And he's pretty much that here in this film, and he does an excellent job, actually, of playing a guy who's attracted to a woman who, although she's not as quote-unquote sophisticated as he is, and although she's not as so-called educated as he is, he still realizes the beauty in her and the goddess in her and wants to bring her into his world while also learning of her world at the same time, so that they could create sort of an alchemy and become better people. And that's, what we really, want to do in life is, take two sides of the coin and meld them together to create something even more beautifully, like, a man and a woman creating a child, you know what I'm saying? Creating a beautiful child and then letting that child develop and blossom. So, at any rate, she, Tashawn is trying to flag down Stoney, basically telling her, come on, hurry up, because they're supposed to be done. Stoney plays hard to get, but she takes Blair Underwood's number. Tashawn, of course, brings her baby to work in the following scene. This leads to, her baby going into the chemicals, and then we go to the hospital where apparently her baby boy drank some of the chemicals and poisoned himself. So, of course, Child Protective Services comes and they take her baby away until they feel, until she can prove that she has enough money to afford daycare, so that she's not bringing her child to work with her. So now it's pretty much on. Like, everybody's past their breaking point now to where there's a proper motivation to do the robbery. To give it to you, Jada, she's at her wit's end. Her brother died. She gave up her body to get money for her brother's, college tuition when he didn't even get accepted. There's just a myriad of things for her. Okay. Frankie was her, she was doing what she felt was the right thing to achieve the American dream, and it was snatched away from her, by people who basically betrayed her and betrayed her loyalty and hard work. So now she wants to fuck the bank up. That's her motivation. Kimberly Elise, who plays Tashawn, she needs that money to show that she can take care of her child or have daycare for her child to be taken care of while she works. She's still not really about it per se, but it's hard for her to say no now in this situation. And then, of course, you have Cleo, who just doesn't give a fuck. She's down to do whatever anyway. She's just trying to get that paper, trying to get that money, and, ball out before she goes. So she's always ready and trained to go. So Frankie, of course, starts to give them the knowledge and the know-how in order to teach them how to rob a bank. They go to Dr. Dre, who's in his first film. He plays Black Sam. He's a gun runner. They have the shooting range there. And in the shooting range, you kind of see, like, it's tight how you see them all. You see kind of their personalities behind how they're shooting. And I'll roll tape on that so you can watch that real quick.
Black Sam, she want to talk to you.
Damn.
Shit. And so you can see from Cleo that's got the two guns all the way down to Sean, who, busts her gun and it drops out of her hand. You see the personalities just on display in that little series, in that montage right there. So Dre hooks him up with the correct type of guns, because they're not trying to rob a stagecoach, as Cleo says. Cleo steals a car, and she does her signature move, which is to throw the CDs or tapes out of the window until she finds the proper music to ride to, and she will not move until she finds that proper music. Of course, she leaves her fingerprints on these, and that will come back to bite them later. So They walk into the bank, hot as shit, start putting on their wigs, hot as a motherfucker. Just, that's just crazy to me, but it's a movie. We'll let that slide. So they put on the wigs and the glasses right in the hallway of whatever, commercial structure it is, where the bank, the actual door to the bank is, more on the inside. So Tashawn is trying to back out. She's like, nah, I can't do this. And now, of course, Tashawn wanting to back out. Now Stoney suddenly finds religion too. And she's like, you know what? Yeah, this just doesn't feel right. And Frankie just smiles at him and is like, okay. Pulls out the gun and just walks in. And now, she walks in with the gun, basically forces their hand. Cleo walks in, hurriedly behind her, like, yeah, it's on. And Stoney is like, oh shit, and walks behind her, and freaking Tashawn goes the opposite way and runs out the bank. So Frankie walks in, gun out, and they lay everybody down, and it's a beautiful scene just off of the music that's playing. There's this piano music that's playing in the score that it's like a comical, like comic stripish type of music, that type of score at that point in time in the film that gives you the feeling and idea that, okay, yeah, this is really amateur night. And even how it's shot, the way that the camera moves to each person and what they're doing at the time, you're like, okay, these girls are really just winging it. This is really amateur night. They're just freestyling everything, but it's mad interesting, and they end up getting away with the money. So, it all works out.
I ain't feeling this, Frankie. This ain't right.
Okay.
Everybody get down on the ground right now. Put your hands up. Move back.
Everybody stay down. Stay down.
Go.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Turn around. All of y'all, turn the fuck around.
Don't move.
Move back. Move back.
Okay.
Turn around, girl. What the fuck are you looking at?
Give me the money. Put up the drawer. Put that phone down. Put it down. Put your arms up. Hey! Hey! You better lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Don't move.
Y'all just be cool.
Don't move. Don't move. Stay there. Come on.
What are you looking at? I'm a bitch with a gun.
Come on, we're taking too much time.
Take your money. Don't try and be a hero.
All right, here we go. There we go. All right. Yeah, move it. We're almost to the door. Come on. Slow it down.
Yeah. Woo! Y'all, come on, move.
And this is a great time to give it up to the composer, Christopher Young, who is in charge of the score. He's done a ton of television. He's done a ton of films as well. He's been nominated for Primetime Emmys. So, he does a great job, though, of course, with the score and with the musical composition of this film. And it's a great soundtrack as well. Great soundtrack for this film. So Stoney, goes out with Keith. They have a good time. She goes back to his place, and we have like a nice, juxtaposition, nice artistic film moment where within the frame we have a painting of a guy who's busting out of the ground, and at that same time, Stoney asks Keith, does he feel free? At which time he's like, hell yeah, I feel free. What about you? She's like, no, I feel caged in. And, she mentions her brother and what happens to him, and so now the bond is deepening, and Keith is starting to feel, Blair Underwood is starting to feel more and more like he wants to help this woman become the best version of herself possible. And part of that is by providing her with the freedom or freeing her and helping her feel free. So he sees the key that he needs to unlock, basically. So, and at the end of the scene, she hits a little Cabernet Merlot thing, which kind of shows that, okay, yeah, she's not as unsophisticated as he may think. you know, she's hip to a lot of things too. You know what I'm saying? Even though she hasn't been a lot of places, she's still hip. So at this point, John C. McGinley, he's seen all of the, you know, the surveillance footage, the bank surveillance footage. He's on to them. He knows who's done it. I mean, he's pretty much solved the entire case at this point. You're like, dang, how's this movie going to go on? Because this dude he knows exactly what's going on. How is he not going to get them? So, but his boss won't let him pursue the case because of public relations. It's a public relations issue because although McGinley properly connects Stoney to Cleo and to Frankie, it's for him to investigate the sister of a guy who was just recently, not too long ago, murdered by the police unlawfully or wrongfully. This is gonna cause a problem. It's gonna be a firestorm. So he's like, no. So okay, that happens. So now we go to Cleo. She's flexing with the money. She's got all types of cash. She's bought her girl some new lingerie. She got the car sitting, you know, the hydraulics in the old school joint. She's kissing on her girlfriend. You know, her girlfriend's looking real sexy in the new, you know, lingerie and the black fishnets, looking like, yeah, you feel me? Everything is on up and up for her. And, you know, Cleo's like, yo, you know, they're like, yo, Cleo, you just ran through the money. What's wrong with you? And Cleo's like, fuck that. Let's just rob another bank. The money's out there. I could spend all the money now because all we got to do is rob a bank and I'm right back. You know what I'm saying? I'm right back where I need to be. Everybody's like, nah, fuck no. Stoney disagrees. Frankie, of course, co-signs Cleo because she's like, yo, Stoney, you want to get out of town, but you can't get out of town on no $3,000. You need much more than that. We have to rob another bank. Stoney is still reluctant, and Cleo, you know, who doesn't know how to act when she's high and drunk, wows out on Stoney. And this brings us to my moment, which is the most gangster moment of the film of Set It Off to me. Now, to give you the background once again, the gangster moment of the movie is that moment in the movie where you're watching, you're like, God damn, now some gangster shit that happened right there. Yo, this is a gangster movie right here. Okay, yeah, I'm happy I'm watching this. Yeah, all that. That's what this moment in the movie is. And I want you to let me know, put in the comments, put wherever, holler at me on social media. Let me know your gangster moments for Set It Off and for all the other episodes that I've done prior to this. And then when I let y'all know I'm doing one in the future, tell me your gangster moment too. This is the moment in the movie that I thought was the most gangster. And that really got me the most hype. Not because in a way it's a fucked up moment. Actually, not in a way, it is. It's a real fucked up moment in the movie. And, you know, it almost tears them apart, but it's so gangster because up to this moment, Cleo is just that wild out, you know what I'm saying? She's not having nothing. And then this just and you know that Frankie also is that, you know, Frankie's been traumatized to where she just flipped and she doesn't give a fuck. She'll do whatever. And she's already thorough, you know what I'm saying? She's already thorough anyway. She's not at the level of Cleo because Cleo's actually put in work in the streets, has a rap sheet and all that. So, you know, Frankie now, she's just her wild side has now been uncompressed. You know what I'm saying? It was compressed before, and now it's allowed to flourish in a roar now. So that's where we see Frankie at. We know that Tashawn is a timid one. And then we know that Stoney is a voice of reason, and Stoney ain't no punk, but you know what I'm saying? But she's not Cleo. But then this moment happens, and you're like, yo, Stoney takes no shit regardless. Like, she's trail. This is you know what I'm saying? And it just solidifies the strength of the four of them, because now you're like, okay, all four of these girls are straight up real. It doesn't matter who it is. And we know that they're sisters from way back because of how everything develops. Anyway, roll tape.
Enough change to get us up out of here.
And that's all it is, Stoney. We need some real money. I don't know how far out of town you plan to get, baby sister, but you ain't getting far on $3,000.
Hey, really? All right, Louise, you take Thelma over there and y'all go rob another bank if you all that.
Fuck you! I know you ain't finna back down on us now that we need you. I want some more motherfucking money.
Cleo, you are real high and you acting real stupid. You need to get that gun off my face. Ever fucking raise a gun to me again.
What? Are you gonna hit me, motherfucker? Stoney, we go back to first grade. You've been my peeps for 20 years. Get off of me.
So yeah, that was just a great scene. We see that, Stoney isn't gonna take nothing. We see the rift that it causes between the two of them. Now it seems like there's a split. Now we come to that point in the film where we don't know, where there's a break and things are starting to go more so downhill. So from here, Stoney goes to see Keith, who makes her feel much better. Their bond strengthens. He even advises her to make up with Cleo and to not let money get in between friends. This is juxtaposed with Frankie scolding Cleo in the car, letting Cleo know that she's fucked up because she put the gun to Stoney's face, which was fucked up. There was no need for that. And they go to pick up Stoney. Cleo, of course, does it reluctantly because, of course, she still loves her. They go pick up Stoney, and John C. McGinley is surveilling them the whole time and takes a pic. And now he knows that they're all connected. He's got the fingerprints that match Cleo from when she was throwing CDs out the car. Everything is, is going downhill and they don't even realize it. Meanwhile, next day at work, Stoney and Cleo, they make up. It's not that big a deal. They talk about their futures. And this is actually, Stoney is starting to see more, especially dealing with Keith. She's like, there's more to life, where Cleo's like, nah, there isn't. And let's roll tape on this scene just to kind of see. This is like the I don't want to say typical, but it's a common theme that you'll see throughout gangster movies where there's a person that wants a better life. Excuse me. And then there's a person who's like, what are you talking about, a better life? This is all we know. And we've seen it in, Superfly. Before this, we saw it in Belly. You know what I'm saying? You see it in King of New York. It's in every gangster movie that I've done so far. You see it even in Hell or High Water. It's in every gangster movie that I've done so far. So, why not? And let's watch the scene. Roll tape.
But you need to come back in with us. You ain't got enough money to get out of town.
You're right about that. But I want more than that. Is this the only way? See, because I want to be somebody who doesn't have to do this crap. You know what I'm saying?
Stoney, you can go to suburbia and start a new life. But we ain't nothing but hood rats. Now, I can live with that. You can't. Hood is where I belong. What am I going to do in Hollywood? Or 1,000 Oaks or some shit. Man, shit.
Why we gotta roll over and accept that, though? We gotta have a plan. What does our future look like? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
I don't know. And I don't care. And I ain't thinking about 5 years from now. I'm just trying to get through the day.
So yeah, you see right there what it is as far as their views on life. And of course that's going to develop into what happens, towards the end of the film. And from there we get a little, like comedy relief. We have the Godfather scene where Vivica, Frankie, she acts as though she's the Godfather and makes sure that, Tashawn and Stoney are still down to do the robbery at which, you know, they all act like, you know, they're different mob bosses, different dons or whatever, and they're like, yeah. Then of course Cleo Menza, she got to agree not to, you know what I'm saying, you know, flex too hard with her money, woo, and it's a nice scene. And it brings us to the next bank robbery at Balboa Savings and Loans. Now, with this robbery, we see that the four of them are much more experienced, much more sound, precise, much more gun-ho. They have everything kind of in order. Their aggression is at the right level. There's no fear whatsoever. Even Tashawn, she's playing a victim on the ground, off-duty. It looks like a guy who may be an off-duty cop, or he's I'm not sure about California gun laws, but let's say he's an off-duty cop. He tries to grab his pistol and pull it out. She puts the pistol to his head, catches him in the act. We see total comfort from all four ladies in this scene. Now, this is the problem, though. When they first arrive, there's an issue. There's an issue with the guy, a homeless guy or some kind of vagrant who's having an issue with police outside. This issue escalates to a point where there's not only does the getaway car get blocked in, but there's also now increased police presence. Cleo, you know, she goes to the garage, goes to carjacks a Suburban. That's intercut with the other three ladies realizing that there's mad cops out front. How the hell are they going to get out of the bank when there's all types of police that are there, not even for the bank robbery, but for some whole totally different shit. It's just, it's no good. So Cleo, though, she comes through in the clutch. And matter of fact, let's roll tape on that entire scene. Let's watch this. This is a halfway climax in the film and a great action sequence. Great job by director F. Gary Gray. Roll tape.
A vagrant that's drunk and disorderly. Would you send another unit, please?
Come on, let's make it! Move it! Let's make it! Come on! Don't make me get ugly up in here, ladies and gentlemen. Not today. Don't look at me. Turn around. Hey, you, keep your hands
Let's
down.
go.
Everybody, face down, face down.
Let's go, let's go.
Keep them in line, girl. Keep them in line. Down. Hey, come on, let's make it. It's Cleo.
So yeah, they get away in a wild chase, pushing the Suburban. They get up out of there. Things are starting to get better. They come off with $300,000, around $300,000. Everything is on the up and up. They stash the money. They know that they're going to work like a day or two more, and then they're up out of there. Tashawn, once Tashawn gets her son, they're out of town. They're gone. So, Stoney, in the meantime, Stoney goes to a black tie engagement with Keith. She shows up wearing this, oriental red, colorful oriental looking type gown. that covers most of her body. Keith's not feeling it. Keith eventually admits that he's not really feeling it. He goes and he purchases an entirely new dress, a black dress, a sexy black dress that showcases Jada Pinkett as just this beauty. And I'm wondering if maybe this was the start of Jada Pinkett as a sex symbol, because we all knew that she had that sex appeal and that beauty when she was on A Different World. And then when she was Ronnie in Menace to Society, we saw it too. And now it's just growing and developing. And now when she wears that black dress, she just looks amazing, just ridiculous. And that, I don't know, that may have been the first time. I'm not sure if it was Ronnie or this when I first, fell in love with Jada Pinkett just a little bit. And I fell in love with Vivica Fox. That's a whole nother story, though. I digress. So she's nervous, you know what I'm saying? But she uses, I guess, her knowledge of banks. I'm not sure if she learned that from Frankie or learned that from Keith. But she says some quick bank shit about how she, likes to diversify her portfolio. And Keith's colleagues are all wild and like, hey, and I guess they have a great time. They come back, have an intimate moment. He's giving her an intimate massage while the classic En Vogue song Don't Let Go is playing. Such a classic song. And I got to give a big up to F. Gary Gray for his direction of this scene. Also, I haven't yet shouted out the director of photography, Mark Rashofsky, who's done a ton of music video work and mainly works in music. However, he did a grand job on this entire movie on allowing F. Gary Gray's vision to be displayed in a high quality format and just to be displayed artistically within a beautiful frame. Shout out to him. And this scene right here is just shot so lovely. I remember I spoke about the sex scene, the love scene in Superfly and how that captured just the body parts. And this does the same thing. And it's Jada Pinkett, so it's off the chain. And this is really where, Jada Pinkett turns into not only the great actress, but also the sex symbol as well. And you don't have to see her whole body. All you have to see is just the key curves and it's shot magnificently. Rotate. Let's see it. The two make love to that song playing in the background. You know that they're now in love. They're really connected. And now things, that's the climax. That's a great climax, pun intended, to where they come now to the bottom side of the climax where, now things are going downhill. Luther, they find out that Luther's taking the money. They go and approach Luther. Cleo pulls out on him. She's not paying attention. Luther pulls his joint out. He's with a prostitute or whatever. Tashawn ends up killing Luther to save Cleo's life. They can, of course, find the money now that Luther's dead. Now they got a murder beef on them because, the detective, John C. McGinley, I think his name is like Stroder or something like that. He actually, he knows that he brings Cleo into a lineup. The prostitute who was a witness says that it's not Cleo, and of course, Cleo took the prostitute's ID, threatened her, that she'll find her basically on that type shit. So the prostitute keeps her mouth shut. But now these four women are really on edge, and the only bank that they can rob now that's going to have enough money for them to roll out is the bank that Keith works at, the downtown bank that Keith works at. So Jada, of course, she's like, nah, fuck no. However, Cleo basically tests her like, yo, you gonna pick that buppy over that you just met over your girls, your sisters? And regardless of how much she loves Keith, she can't, she's loyal to her sisters. And that was a great moment to really show how loyal she really was. Like, she'll go to any lengths. And because she loves Keith so much, she actually tries to figure out a way so that he's not there. I'll get to that in like 2 seconds. So, at any rate, we come back in, I guess, the following morning, and the John C. McGinley and Ella Joyce are both there briefing the bank staff on the string of bank robberies and how these women have gone about it and what to do in the situation that these women should happen to rob the bank. So while they're watching some of the surveillance footage, Keith, Blair Underwood's character, he notices Jada Pinkett Stoney in the surveillance footage. He's like, oh, fuck. Moments later, she calls him and she's like, yo, meet me at this restaurant. And he's already like, all right, I know that you're hiding this lifestyle from me. All right, you better be there. He may have an inkling that she's robbing his bank, but I'm not sure if he picks up on that yet. However, of course, she does this just to create that diversion so that he's not there when they go in to rob the bank that he works at. John C. McGinley and Ella Joyce gets the call. They're like, wow, this is fucking unbelievable. We were just at this bank not too long ago, and now they're robbing it. So the four come in. They have better masks on now. You know what I'm saying? They have the masks that they should have had on from the start of the freaking movie instead of them goddamn wigs and sunglasses. And they probably would have got to get away with this shit a long time ago. But anyway, they put on these masks. They're caught in the act. Tashawn, tries to. It's a Mexican standoff. Tashawn gets up for some reason. She gets shot, by a random cop. It's a standoff between, Stoney and Cleo and John C. and Ella Joyce. They end up having, after, of course, after Tashawn gets shot, it's a whole shootout that goes back and forth. They all end up getting away. Frankie picks them up. They get away, and they get away with Tashawn, bring her in the car. When they go to switch cars, we have a super gripping moment between Stoney, Jada Pinkett's character, and Tashawn, Kimberly, Elise's character, where, Stoney's holding her in her arms, and Tashawn basically dies in her arms, Touching moment, one of the moments that puts you on edge where, the tears might come down, but you got to hold on strong because there's more movie left. Now, after that, they switch cars. They get in the Cleo's car. They flee. They go on a run. It's an ill police chase. They got the choppers, following them. They ditch the cops. They're able to lose the cops, but of course the chopper, the ghetto bird, is still watching them and still looking at them. They go underneath the tunnel, and now it's a helicopter at each side. And this is the moment when Cleo says to herself, okay, I'm either, I'm going out in a blaze. If I die, I'm going out in a blaze. I'm not going to take the two of y'all with me. That's her thought process. And she's like, okay, y'all get out. I'm going to try and make a run for it. We got to split up. And they kind of look at her and realize that she's ready to die. So, of course, they give their goodbyes, their love. Stoney and Frankie get out of the car. Cleo, hits the gas, goes towards the chopper. The chopper raises up. She keeps going. At this time, Frankie and Stoney split up. Stoney ends up finding the bus. She puts on a little sombrero, gets on the bus. Frankie goes another way. Cleo is now surrounded by police officers while she's in the car. She takes a hit of that cigarette. She runs through, just catching bullets just riddling the whole car. And then we come to the scene of all scenes as far as the death scenes in this film. She goes out like a straight gangster, like a straight G, in a blaze of glory. In a blaze of glory. Roll tape.
Stop, don't you run, don't you hide. You'll do fine, you'll be good, you'll get by. Night after night, seems like I rage against the moon. But it don't ever light the dark. I curse the falling rain, but it won't stop for my complaining. Down on my luck and up against the wind.
So yeah, sad moment, of course, because we love Cleo. So, you know, yeah, it's another drop a tear moment in this movie. Now we go to Vivica's standoff. Now, Vivica has a standoff with John C. McGinley's character where, you know, she basically wants to get her integrity back and her dignity back and get the true revenge that she wanted. Not just taking the money from the bank, but letting them know that, yeah, I'm only human. I made a mistake, and there's no way that you should have chastised me and fired me and did all this, tried to destroy my life off a human error that was caused by a traumatizing moment. And we're going to roll tape on what happened with her and the death of Frankie. Roll tape.
Frankie, I need you on the ground.
Wait!
So, what's the procedure when you got a gun in your head, huh? What's the fucking procedure when you got a gun in your head? It's over.
So yeah, another sad moment and a poetic moment at the same time, of course. Once again, John C. McGinley is given he's that officer that you're not too mad at, and you say, okay, he has a heart because now he let Stoney go. He sees Stoney on the bus, but he says to himself, you know what? Enough people have died. I mean, she's already getting away. She's gone through enough. I was there when her brother was killed. This is basically me saying sorry. This is me paying her back, or or, you know, giving her something back for her brother being killed by my officers. So he lets her go. And, you know, and it gives that air of, you know, almost that white savior type of thing. And it, not to take anything away from the film, but it gives that savior feeling to the police officer to where he's not that evil cop, if you will. Like, for instance, the cops in Superfly or a movie like that, or, you know, it's more, it gives that other side, which is actually genius because it makes you, emotionally, it tears you in half because you kind of, you know, don't like him, but you gotta like him at the same time, and you want to see him succeed, but you don't want to see him succeed because you like the main characters who are on the other side. It creates that interesting, you know, contrast and of emotions and things of that nature. So, at any rate, Jada gets away with the money to Mexico. It's definitely bittersweet because all of her girls are gone. She sits and has a moment where she sees all the cash on the bed and she just breaks down and crying. This is another tear-dropping moment because you realize, you're like, damn, it doesn't matter how much money she has in the world, now she does feel kind of free, but she's not able to enjoy it with the people that she loves the most. You know what I'm saying? And even the guy that she loves the most, Keith, who she ends up calling on the phone, and, you know, just to basically let her know that she's okay, and he's happy about that and wishes he could see her, but, you know, knows that he'll probably never see her again. However, she knows that she's free. She kind of goes off into the sunset, so to speak, but it's a bittersweet ending. You know, that was really just the sweet part there, that when it comes to a film, it's like where you have these 4 protagonists and 3 of them pass, you gotta let at least one get away with it, because if not, then it's just a totally depressing, like, you know what I'm saying? Because you just leave, you know, you don't, in certain types of films, depending on what you're going for, you may not want to totally take your audience to that level of stress to where, like, okay, now you just totally erased all their dreams. At least you gave them the hope that maybe, you know, one got away with it and could be happy. Even though at the same time, I know F. Gary Gray doesn't want to come across as, he doesn't want to romanticize too much the act of robbing banks. He wants to give a consequence to it in his storytelling and you know, and then how the story is told, and that's done extremely well. Woo! Once again, a classic movie. Set it off. A movie about what people do when their backs are against the wall. A movie about sisterhood, a bond that cannot be broken, about 4 strong women and how they cope with the trials of life. A movie that breaks through the barriers of gender, where you have 4 women doing what typically men would do in the film, which is robbing a bank and being successful at it. You have the gangster movie trope of starting from the bottom, seeing the top, and then having it all taken away from you that fast. We see that in this film too. It's an emotional roller coaster. It's a tearjerker. It's an all-around classic film. It's one of the greatest films in movie history. It's one of the greatest films of the 1990s. This film has set it off. I totally enjoyed talking about it, going in depth about it. Please, if you have more that you want to say, or if you have some things that you want to say in response to what I've said in this podcast, please leave it in the comments or hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, wherever, and we can have a little bit of a dialogue. Once again, the opinions and viewpoints that are listened to and heard in this podcast are, of course, the views and opinions of me, Kwaku King Nabby, the gangster movie guru. I thank you for viewing. I thank you for liking. I thank you for subscribing. We have a top 6 series coming soon. Top 10 is going to be top some number, you know, with shooters, gangsters, all different types of subjects. Of course, Cleo, you know she's a top shooter. You know she's going to be somewhere on that list. Where's she going to be? I don't know. Tune in. Check it out. And I just appreciate everybody. It's really love. It's really just a blessing to be able to have a platform in this day and age to just speak and talk about films that you love. And I appreciate everybody who's listening. Please like, please subscribe once again. you know, is to keep it real, it's a joke. When I say I'm going to find you, I really don't have the fucking time to go looking for anybody because they didn't like or subscribe. So I just ask that you fucking like and subscribe. It's as fucking easy as a fucking push to the fucking button. Okay? It's a click. That's all you got to do. All right? Thank you. I love y'all. This is the Gangster Movie Guru Podcast. Set it off, episode 004. One love and I'm out.